Most people think silence is weakness. They think if you're not constantly talking, posting, reacting, or defending yourself, you must be insecure, awkward, or invisible. In a world that rewards noise, silence can look like a flaw. And maybe you felt that pressure before, the urge to fill the gap in conversation, to explain yourself immediately, to prove you belong in the room. But if you choose silence sometimes, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means your mind understands something most people overlook. In this video, we're going to look at why silence is powerful and the quiet advantages that come with it. You've probably experienced that moment in a group setting where everyone is competing to speak. Opinions overlap, jokes are rushed, people interrupt each other just to be heard. And you sit there, listening. Maybe someone even says, "Why are you so quiet?" as if silence needs an excuse. But while everyone else is performing, you're observing, you're noticing tone changes, body language, hidden tensions. Silence gives you perspective. When you're not focused on what you're about to say next, your brain has more space to process what's actually happening. And the person who understands the room often holds more real power than the person dominating it. Have you ever realized that the quietest person sometimes sees the most? There's also the way silence protects your emotions. Imagine someone criticizes you unfairly. Your first instinct might be to defend yourself immediately. Your heart beats faster, words form in your mind, but instead of reacting, you pause. That pause is powerful. It gives your nervous system time to settle. It prevents you from saying something you'll regret. Silence in that moment isn't weakness, it's regulation. You're choosing not to let someone else control your emotional state. And when you don't escalate, arguments often lose momentum on their own. How many conflicts survive when one person refuses to feed them? Another quiet advantage is how silence increases the weight of your words. Think about someone who talks constantly. Eventually, their words blend into background noise. But when you don't speak all the time, when you wait, listen, and then contribute intentionally, people lean in. Psychologically, scarcity increases value. If you only speak when you have something meaningful to say, your voice carries more authority. In meetings, classrooms, or even casual conversations, the person who chooses their words carefully often commands more respect than the loudest one in the room. Have you noticed how silence builds anticipation? Silence also reveals other people. When you're comfortable with quiet pauses, others tend to fill them. In conversations, if you don't rush to respond, the other person often keeps talking, and sometimes they reveal more than they planned to. In negotiations, in friendships, even in dating, the one who can tolerate silence often gains clarity. You begin to see intentions more clearly. You hear inconsistencies. You understand motivations. Silence creates space, and in that space, truth surfaces. It's interesting how much people show when you simply let them. There's a different kind of silence too, the private kind, the kind where you don't broadcast every struggle or achievement. Most people feel pressure to constantly update the world about what they're doing, what they're feeling, what they're thinking. But when you keep certain things to yourself, it doesn't mean you're hiding. Sometimes it means you're protecting something that needs time to grow. Silence allows reflection. It lets you process your emotions without outside noise shaping them. Not every feeling needs an audience. Some lessons are meant to be understood quietly before they're shared. Silence also strengthens your self-control. In a digital world where reactions are instant, choosing not to respond immediately is rare. You don't comment on every post. You don't argue with every opinion. You don't feel the need to defend yourself publicly every time you're misunderstood. That restraint builds discipline. It teaches your mind that not every stimulus deserves a reaction. And over time, that discipline shapes your character. You become less reactive, more grounded, more intentional. Isn't it interesting how power often comes from what you don't say? And maybe the deepest advantage of silence is the relationship it builds with yourself. When you're not constantly filling your space with noise, music, scrolling, chatter, you start hearing your own thoughts more clearly. You notice patterns, you catch insecurities, you become aware of your impulses before acting on them. Silence becomes a mirror. It shows you who you are without distraction. And while that can feel uncomfortable at first, it's also where growth begins. The more comfortable you are with your own silence, the less you depend on external validation to feel secure. Silence isn't about withdrawing from the world. It's about choosing when and how you engage with it. It's about responding instead of reacting, observing instead of performing, listening instead of competing. In a culture that equates volume with value, your quiet presence can feel misunderstood. But maybe it's misunderstood because it's rare. The loudest person in the room often seeks attention. The quiet person often understands it. And maybe that's why silence feels so powerful. It creates space for thought, for clarity, for intention. It allows you to step back before stepping forward. It reminds you that you don't have to prove your worth through constant noise. Sometimes strength is steady, sometimes confidence is calm, sometimes power is quiet. If this made you think of yourself or someone you know, you're not alone. Feel free to sit with that thought, maybe share it, and if you want more quiet psychology like this, you already know where the subscribe button is.